The final pieces to Auburn's 2025 football roster report this weekend. Let's break it down.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie 5.
Sir, we're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie 5, and we are ready to get after it. By the end of this weekend, the Auburn football roster will be complete and enrolled and on campus. There's some studs that you may have forgotten about. We're going to talk about those, who to look for, who can make an early contribution, who Auburn's going to be leaning on as far as these late additions coming in here by the end of the weekend. And then we're going to talk about why spring football makes no sense anymore. And also, Auburn's got several other sports killing it. We're going to get you caught up with everything they have going on. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to mybookie.ag. Use coupon code BARN, B-A-R-N, for a 50% deposit bonus. Give them $100. They're going to give you 50 back on top of it to play with. Hit that sports book. You still got tons of athletics out there going on. Tons of sporting events going on that you can get some action on. I was close. I don't know why I didn't take – why would you never bet on Scotty Scheffler to win a golf tournament? I had John Rahm. Thought he might be able to pull it out late. But that's the action you can get at mybookie.ag. Easy deposits, easy withdrawals. Give them some love. Check it out. Auburn's final additions to the 2025 roster by the end of this weekend will all be on campus. You have a select few high school guys that some of you may have forgotten about. And then you got, obviously, your spring portal additions. Several of those are going to be key contributors. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about every single one. So let's start with high school. And you got to lead off with Derick Smith. I think people forget that Derick Smith was a top 150 recruit. He's number 135 in the country. On ESPN and Rivals, he was a top 100 player. Pretty much like he's listed as an athlete. I think he's like the number 2 overall athlete in the class. Just a really, really good athlete. I mean, they nailed it. He played wide receiver and he played, I think, safety a little bit, and he even played some edge in high school. And he played a little bit of a smaller classification, I think 3A in Alabama, from Southside Selma. And the kid just he's a really, really good football player. He's a football player. He's one of those kids. He's 6'1", just around 200 pounds. He's just an athlete. He can do it all. And I can't wait to see what Auburn does with him. You got a really crowded wide receiver room. I think that's his position at the next level. I also think he could be a All-American safety. I can't wait to see what they do when they get him here. I think I lean towards offense because to me, on offense, he looks like Odell Beckham Jr. To me, the way he moves, he's only 6 foot, 6'1", but he's got an incredible vertical and crazy catch radius. And he's just one of those guys that just seems like you just put him out there if you need to make a play, and he can go do it. There were times in their season where you just had to have a play and you just put him out wide and you just throw it up to him. And I know that's not necessarily going to be super transitive to college football, but it's just that instinct to just, I'm a playmaker. You just put the ball in my vicinity and I'm going to go get it. So I think people forget about him. He could be, I think he's got an argument for the most athletic player in the whole class. And he finally gets on campus. Can't wait to see where his career starts off there. So his brother, Derick Smith, also, he was a late addition to the class. Same high school. He enrolls. He moves in this weekend as well. Intriguing prospect. I mean, he's under recruited. Didn't have a ton of big time offers. I think Alabama offered him late. Actually got him to visit. He's 6'6", 190. I mean, you can't coach 6'6". And from watching his film, not elite top-end speed, but again, 6'6", in the ability to go up and go up and high point a ball. That's pretty much he has no other. There's nowhere else to put him. He's a outside wide receiver. So you never know. You never know what you get with a guy like this. Come in, do the right stuff, and get it done. Derick Smith, another 6'6" wide receiver to add to the room. Kale Ellis. I think Kale Ellis is a future Remington Award winner. I think, honestly, he could be one of the more important players of the class because with Connor Lew getting the love that he's getting from NFL scouts, remember, Kale was a 2026 class guy. He was a next year's class guy. But Auburn, and Kale wanted to go ahead and graduate and get to Auburn early, and I don't blame him. Because think about it. Now he gets a year to work behind Connor. And then he could, if Connor goes to the draft, he could slide in and be a 2 or 3 year starter. And he is an animal. He's been posting some of his workout videos. He's been on the show a couple of times. He has just got his head on straight in the right direction. And I mean, he reclassified, and on a couple of sites, he was bumped to a 4-star. So he got that. That's really tough to do. So, I mean, you got to be pretty elite for that to happen, because normally you got to imagine you're a little bit younger, so that's going to hurt your evaluation. He reclassified, and he was still a 4-star on several sites. I mean, this is you're a carbon copy of what you got in Connor Lew. You're going to have maybe a little bit more, maybe has a little bit more even athletic ability than Connor. So really, really important kid to get in here. Omar Mabson, y'all know how much I love Omar Mabson. Another reclassify to jump in that running back room. I think that kid is going to be a star. He was incredible the last 2 seasons at Auburn High School. Omar Mabson, remember that name. It may not be this year, but it won't be long. We're going to be buying that jersey. I'm just telling you, he's going to be good. And then you got, rounding out the high school class, Jacoby Ward, who was another one of those guys that I think was a heavy eval, a guy that Auburn evaluated really hard for a really long time, but was on him early. And then right there towards the end of the recruiting cycle, boom, Tennessee, boom, LSU, boom, South Carolina, boom, Alabama. Georgia was right there as far on the cusp of offering. Like, really, really good schools came on late, but Auburn had kind of done the work on the front end and went ahead and got him in. So he will be here this weekend as well. He'll jump in that offensive line room, probably play an interior. I would imagine he'd be on the interior, but I think he'll compete right away. And probably be a factor pretty quickly. Obviously not this year, but maybe, next year can definitely be a guy that Auburn leans on moving forward. We're going to talk about the transfers here in just a second, and then talk about possibly why everyone's so adamant about moving spring to June and why it makes sense. We're going to talk about all that in just a second. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to roback.com. Use coupon code BUTTON20 to take 20% off your order. Y'all been sending me screenshots of your orders. I love it. They got some awesome stuff. I mean, what can I say? Great polos. They feel great. They look great. You can get ready for the summer, man. They got swim trunks. They got shorts. They got everything. So show them some love. Roback.com. We'll be back right after this. Portal guys enrolling. We've talked about these guys almost ad nauseum. James Ash is actually already here. I saw some pictures of him at Byron's. I mean, these guys come in, they know right where to go for breakfast. So that he's already here, and I've been told he is physically very, very impressive. Remember James Ash from, I believe, Florida A&M. 6'3", 281. I've been told he's probably closer to 300, and it's a good one. It's a good 300. So he will look to be able to factor in early along the defensive line. And then you have your other defensive lineman, Jay Hardy. What a cool story. Signed with Gus in 2020. That was actually a pretty solid class that Gus had. A lot of them didn't work out, and Jay Hardy was one of them. He didn't stay through the coaching change, but he's obviously going to finish out his career here. Not really sure what to expect, but I think if you got to have a guy that can be in a support role, be in a backup role, take some snaps, and then he's got the talent. He's got the talent to be, an SEC defensive lineman. I mean, he was a freak in high school. Can he put it all together? I think that's going to be the biggest question. Caleb Wheatland. We've talked about linebacker ad nauseum. We thought we would add a more seasoned guy in December, and that didn't happen. We thought surely they'll have a guy just to go for experience. Another Dorian Mausi, another insert older linebacker that we brought in to kind of bring that experience, that leadership to the room. Boy, if you didn't check all the boxes in Caleb Wheatland. Good size, tons of snaps he's taken. He's even taken some snaps against Auburn back in the bowl game. Good production. I just think he's the perfect addition to that linebacker room. I don't know that you could have done a whole lot better. Definitely not any better in the spring. Maybe you could have found a guy or two or whatever in December, but I really like what Caleb Wheatland brings to that room. Then you got defensive back Rashawn Pleasant. You just saw our film room drop. If you didn't, you need to go back and check it. Go to the Barn Film Room playlist. T-Dub just dropped one on Rashawn. Another really athletic defensive back to add to that very talented defensive back room. Guy could also be a return specialist. Auburn's got some really good options, intriguing options in the return game. I'm very excited to see. Kickoff, you got punt returns where you got Malcolm Simmons and Eric Singleton Jr. taking punts, and you got your kickoffs where just insert athlete and put him back there. And then Rashawn could factor in to that as well. We'll see what happens with him. I think he's a very, very intriguing prospect. And then you got the big one, Ashton Daniels, that everybody's been talking about. Ashton Daniels, what is his role going to be? Will he contribute this season? He's only got 1 year left. What do you expect out of him? What can you get out of him? And I think number one is just obviously leadership in that room and just somebody that people can look at to be an example. I think he's a really sharp kid. He's a really good kid. So he's going to do all the right things, hold people accountable. I think that's what you need. As far as production on the field, we've talked about the scenarios, like how does Ashton Daniels get into the game? And I think he's cool with his role of, hey, I'll compete as hard as I can through these summer workouts and into fall camp, and we'll see what happens. But if it doesn't work out, I'm okay being there because it's one snap away and I could be the starting quarterback for the Auburn Tigers. And I think if something were to happen, God forbid, early in the season, I think that's what you'd probably roll with him. Or if you're having a really good year and you're just trying to salvage a couple more games, a couple more wins to really round out the year and end on a good note, you may go to him. He's there if you need him. He's a really good option, a kid that's put up really good production at the Power 5 level. Fantastic runner, just in a terrible situation with Stanford and the whole Pac-12 disintegrating, and then they join, I think, what do they join the I think they joined the ACC, didn't they? Either the ACC or the Big Ten, I believe, is the ACC. And then, you're sort of homeless for a year as far as conference goes, and then you got to go all over the place to play football. It's just crazy. It's crazy what he's, his career he's had to go through, and he gets to finish it out at Auburn. He's from Atlanta. Cool stuff. Can't wait to hear and see see what all he brings. Man, that quarterback room. This is the first time where I feel like if there's an injury, you're probably going to take a step back, but not going to be much. I feel like you're going to be okay. Like you got some guys, you got options that you can go to salvage some things. You may have to change up the offense a little bit, but you got some guys you can turn to that can still sort of carry the torch if there happens to be, some type of injury. It makes no sense to have spring football in spring anymore. I mean, look how many guys that are reporting. Your team's not even finished yet. And several of these guys could be contributors. Like, you're going to need them to be contributors. So why would you practice? Why would we practice in April and the end of March when your roster's not even complete? When, hey, guess what? The guys that you invested in spring, a good number of those guys are going to leave. Why would we continue to have spring with the way this whole deal works when you can have, 10 guys enroll in June, the end of May, which really completes your roster? And then you know what you got for 2025. It makes no sense. I totally agree with Hugh Freeze. I know spring is kind of sentimental. It's something that's been around for decades. But hey, football's changing. And I'm with Hugh. I think you need to report. You have a report date, just like the NFL. I guess ours would be right. I mean, the end of May. That's when I think first day of classes was actually Monday. So maybe there's the different type of mini mesters or things like that they can roll for. You get them in. And then in June, you have your quote unquote spring or your summer workouts or OTAs or whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you want to call it. The practices that you get in spring, you need to have them in June. As far as contact goes, I'll let the coaches decide on that, how physical they are, whatever. The bottom line is it's impossible to build a team. The old adage was you build your team in spring. Well, that's whenever the only people that were enrolling in, May and June were freshmen, and the odds that they were going to contribute are really low. Well, that's not the case anymore. That's not the case anymore with the portal. It's just a completely different ballgame. So I think they definitely need to move that. And obviously this is the reason why. Because again, 10 new players are added to the roster this weekend, and you've already had your spring practice. Doesn't make any sense. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. Other sports, Auburn's killing it in. Softball, what a turnaround. You go from a couple years of darkness under the last regime. You make a new hire, and you go to one game away from advancing to a super regional. Softball, when they're cooking, is a lot of fun. So hopefully this is a sign of that, turning that page and moving that program forward. I think Florida State's coach even said it's a completely different ball club from talent to attitude. Like they think they can win. He had nothing but good things to say about Auburn, and I think that ought to make everybody, if you're really into softball, you're feeling good because you're moving in the right direction. Baseball, the SEC tournament started a little bit last night. You had some rain delays. So the game of consequence for Auburn is today. It's Texas A&M and Mississippi State. Auburn plays the winner tomorrow at like 11 a.m. Like, it's going to be an early one because that bad storm, prayers up to everybody in Huntsville, North Alabama, because it was pretty ugly. I like a lot of tornadoes on the ground. So hopefully everyone listening up there is okay. But yeah, it shifted everything a little bit. So Auburn will play the winner at 11 o'clock on Thursday. So would love to get a couple wins in the tournament. Kind of, you feel good about a regional. You're going to be, I think, one of the top 10, maybe one of the top 10 seeds. So you feel good about that. You just got to keep the momentum going. Again, another great turnaround. Butch has got these guys cooking. The bat's got to stay hot. Pitching's got to hang in there. You got some good starters. I think you can make some noise. You need to, if you want all the details on everything, you need to check in with the Barn Baseball Podcast. It's fantastic. I think they dropped an episode yesterday. So definitely make sure you stay tuned for that. And then Auburn golf. Going back to Carlsbad, the Omni Resort, trying to go back-to-back on the same course. That kicks off actually, I think, Thursday. So that kicks off Thursday, and the format, I'm sorry, kicks off Friday, the 23rd. Yeah, 23rd. So it's a little bit different. If you remember, what they do is they play 54 holes, which is 3 rounds. Okay, there's 30 teams. They play 54 holes, 3 rounds, and then they kick out half of them. So you got 15 advanced to the final round. You play the final round, and then the top 8, it's like a reset. The top 8 are seeded 1 through 8 and go to the match play playoff. Okay, so you remember, if you remember correctly, the SEC tournament was very similar. I think Auburn won the stroke play portion of it, but then they take the top whatever and you match play your way out. Okay, so I'm not crazy about that format, but it is what it is, and it does create some compelling golf. And Auburn did win it last year. They won it last year, not being the number 1 seed after the stroke play, so they worked their way through the playoffs. So that's the good portion of it. That, hey, even if you don't win the stroke play part of it, you got a chance to go win in the match play portion of it. Auburn's been incredible in stroke play events. They did slip up in the SEC tournament, lost in the second round, their second round match play event. But I mean, they got the experience. They won it last year. So, and it's at the same course. So those guys going back to back will be incredible. That'd be a lot of fun. So definitely, I think it'll be televised. You need to tune in this weekend. And then the match play will be over probably 2 days. They typically play like 2 matches a day, I think is how they do it. So by Tuesday or Wednesday, weather permitting, we should know if our Auburn Tigers go back to back. That'd be pretty sweet. So a lot of Auburn sports are cooking right now, man. Just got to get football online, and you got your roster all in the house right now, and you got to start building towards this, the fall, because a lot of hype around everything going on. Guys, let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Let me know what you think about spring ball. Should it be moved? Does it make sense? And what's your favorite non-football sport to watch? Let me rephrase that. What's your favorite non-football or basketball sport to watch at Auburn? There's a lot of baseball folks out there, a lot of softball diehards out there. So what's your favorite sport, non-basketball or football, that you like to watch? Guys, I really appreciate it. If you like the video, like it. If you like the channel, subscribe to it. Follow me on Twitter, _Charlie_5. We're going to be back again soon. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.